Welcome to the counter-narrative for you today. We dive into three major developments shaping global politics: US-Russia discussions on Ukraine, briefings on the Houthi attacks, and Putin's latest call for an end to hostilities. Tensions remain high as the US and Russia discuss next steps regarding Ukraine. While Washington continues to back Kiev, Moscow warns of serious consequences if Western support escalates. Sources suggest that behind closed doors, diplomatic channels remain open, but for how long?
Ukraine sees a ceasefire as a strategic move to safeguard its territorial integrity and prevent further destruction. After months of intense fighting, Kyiv understands that prolonged conflict may lead to more land loss and civilian suffering. A ceasefire would allow Ukraine to fortify its defenses, rebuild infrastructure, and negotiate on more favorable terms. Ukrainian leaders believe that securing peace, even temporarily, is essential to protecting their sovereignty and ensuring long-term stability. However, they remain cautious, fearing that Russia may use a ceasefire as an opportunity to regroup and launch future offensives. Russia's perspective: a ceasefire to ensure Ukrainian soldiers' safety. Russia's agreement to a ceasefire is framed as a humanitarian gesture, claiming that it aims to prevent further bloodshed among Ukrainian troops. Moscow argues that continued resistance is futile and only results in unnecessary casualties. By agreeing to a ceasefire, Russia seeks to solidify its territorial gains, while presenting itself as open to peace talks. However, critics suggest that Russia's true motive is to stabilize occupied regions and weaken Ukraine's military over time. Whether genuine or strategic, Russia's ceasefire stance highlights its intent to maintain influence while appearing conciliatory on the global stage. As the war in Ukraine continues, some critics argue that Kiev may have an incentive to sustain the conflict due to the steady flow of financial aid, military weapons, and diplomatic backing from Western nations. The billions of dollars in support from the US, NATO, and European allies have undoubtedly strengthened Ukraine's resistance against Russia. However, questions arise. Is this aid genuinely fueling Ukraine's survival, or is it prolonging the war?
In a surprising turn, Russian President Vladimir Putin has publicly called for an end to hostilities. But what does this really mean? Is Moscow serious about de-escalation? Or is this a strategic move to shift the narrative in it?
Since the beginning of the invasion, the West has provided Ukraine with advanced weaponry, economic assistance, and intelligence support. While this has helped Ukraine defend itself, some analysts believe that continued aid also discourages negotiations and peace talks. Russia claims that Ukraine has no real incentive to seek a settlement as long as it receives heavy backing from the West. From Ukraine's standpoint, aid is not about prolonging the war, it's about survival. Ukrainian officials argue that without external support, the country would fall under Russian control, leading to devastating consequences for its sovereignty and citizens. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has repeatedly emphasized that military aid is essential for